back here on Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org and acrosstheboardradio.com. You know, we talk about having the best bands, the best athletes, actors on the show, but some days, like we say, are red letter days.
Absolutely.
This is one for me.
This is one of those days you don't get very often.
Yeah, because everybody knows that, you know, on the side, I'm actually, or I guess really my full-time job, I'm a college volleyball coach as well here at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Grew up playing on the beach on the East Coast. One of my favorite players and the first gold medalist we've had on the show as well.
Right.
Dain Blanton is with us right now. Dain, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
So, you know, let's talk about this again. Won a gold medal in the 2000 Olympics with Eric Fenoy Moana out in Sydney. Went back to the Olympics in 2004 with Jeff Nygaard. You know, and you actually have, you know, not only that distinction of winning a gold medal and winning so many championships on the AVP Tour, the FIVB, but I believe still the only African-American to win any medal in the Olympics, correct? I mean, in beach volleyball in the Olympics, right?
Yeah, and, you know, that's an unfortunate thing. Domestically, there hasn't been really any African-Americans that have won any major beach volleyball events, period, on the male side. Of course, on the women's side, Annette Davis and Jenny Johnson have done really well, and they were in the Olympics on the female side. But the male side has really come up short, and I've tried putting on camps and trying to spread the word, but trying to make the sport more diverse. So unfortunately, that fact is true, but you know, you can only do so much, and hopefully we can get more minorities playing the sport and make it more diverse.
Absolutely, and that's the thing about you know, here at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, we have we're an HBCU, a historically black college or university, and we have even an indoor. We have you know, Polynesians and people from everywhere in the world on our team, and again, volleyball in general is a predominantly white sport and sort of an affluent sport on the indoor level with club volleyball and everything. So what can we do to, I mean, you know, beach volleyball's free. You just go out and set up a net, but you have to live near the beach or the sand. What else can we do? I mean, you did your, you know, day in the sand with Dain camps and that kind of thing you just spoke about, but what else can we do to diversify the sport?
Well, it's difficult. I always point to two things with beach volleyball. It's access, number one, to the sport, and the exposure, number two, because kids are going to play what they see on the weekend.
Sure.
You know, they see the NBA, they see the NFL, they see Major League Baseball, but sometimes there's not that coaching for volleyball at the inner city or areas away from the beach, and that's a big fallback. Sometimes there's not courts. I was actually at an event last night that Carrie Walsh was putting on in Santa Monica, and she has a program where she's going around and building courts in unprivileged areas, really nice sand courts. So it's getting the courts to them, getting the coaches to areas that aren't on the coast in Southern California. And as we've seen, like beach volleyball can be played anywhere. So it's about really grassroots and getting out there and getting kids exposed to the sport at a young age, so it's something exciting. And when I was playing, my big goal was not only to be winning, that was my ultimate goal, but if I could get in the finals and be on NBC on the weekends, then I was exposing myself in the sport to a different audience. And when kids see that, they want to become what they see on television. So there's an impact there. So there's a lot of different fronts we can hit it on, but those are the two things, that access and exposure, that I think we've come up short on.
Well, what do you think can be done to help increase the exposure, too? Because, I mean, Ian and I were talking about this off the air before the interview, whereas I'd rather watch beach volleyball or volleyball in general, whether it's indoor or beach. I'd rather watch that than watch golf. That's a nationally televised, hugely popular worldwide sport, and basketball as well. I'd rather watch volleyball than watch basketball. I think it's just got more action. What can be done to help increase that exposure for volleyball in general?
Well, hopefully, you know, it gets turned around. You know, I've seen a lot of people head the sport, and there's been some really great leaders, and there's been some that have come up short in terms of managing the sport correctly, because the market's there, and the sponsor dollars are there, but a lot of the sponsors have kind of been on the ups and downs and are putting funds elsewhere at times, and we need to make it an attractive sport that the sponsors get involved in, because there's no question what you're saying, the athleticism, the fans want to see it, and there's no reason that the sport comes around every 4 years in the Olympics. It is one of the most popular sports in the Olympics, yet it struggles the other few years. So there needs to be some sort of balance in linking those two together, because how can you be such a popular Olympic sport but not surviving as much during those other 4 years when the Olympics don't exist?
And I think I see exactly what you're coming with, because the same thing is happening for soccer stateside. I guess it must be just something with the country's mindset, because soccer and football, as it's known around the world, is such a huge sport worldwide. But over here, it doesn't get nearly as much press. It doesn't get nearly as much excitement. And I think volleyball falls under that same category, unfortunately. E?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's tough, because I think soccer's made a lot of strides and come a long way, but
yeah,
you have to ask the question, like, how much room is there? It's almost like TV shows competing for eyes to watch. How much can you watch? So with the X Games out there, with volleyball, with skateboarding, surfing, all these kind of, I guess you'd want to say, second-tier sports in terms of popularity. It's hard to crack those big three, and then you got to throw golf and tennis in there as well as kind of a 1A, I guess. Right below that, the basketball, NFL, and Major League Baseball. But there's so much competition out there that if you don't have it together from a management side, then you have a big hill to climb. And the AVP has been acquired by a new owner, Donald Sun, who is really passionate about the sport. He's got the financial backing to take it to a different level, and I'm really looking forward to helping him and seeing what he comes up with. But it would be really nice to get the sport back to where it is. Also, a guy named Albert Hanneman, who I played with for years, has a sport called the NVL, which is the National Volleyball League, and he's done a great job. So those are the two entities that are really have a little traction and trying to get the sport back to where it is. But most importantly, as you mentioned earlier, is that women's Division I is here. And I think they're about 16 or 14 teams short of becoming full-fledged Division I beach volleyball.
Yep, sand volleyball, the NCAA calls it.
Yeah, sand volleyball.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, massive, because we already know how big women's indoor volleyball is. And now when these opportunities open up in terms of full scholarships for girls coming up, it's going to take it to an entirely different level. So we can see more, Misty Mays and Carrie Walsh's come up in the ranks.
Now, you have gone into motivational speaking, and again, all the contact for Dain is on DainBlanton.com, DainBlanton.com, DainBlanton.com. Motivational speaker, you broadcast for the Clippers, which are actually doing well this year, and but you're staying involved in the sport, whereas many of the players from years ago in volleyball, beach volleyball, have gotten out of it. Your old partner, Canyon Seaman, is now working for the WWE. Eric Fenoy Moana is doing real estate. Kent Steffes just bought a car dealership a couple of weeks ago. Karch is still coaching and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, we lost Mike Whitmarsh. Mike Dodd is still coaching. But what made you decide to stay in the sport and the motivational speaking? Why?
Well, for one, sports, as you guys know, are awesome, and it's so great to be around sports no matter what. Whether you're playing them, whether you're broadcasting them, whether you're sitting on the couch watching them, it's entertainment, and it's exciting, and it's more times than not, it's positive. So for me, I had no idea that volleyball would take me where it did. I graduated college in 1994 from Pepperdine, and that's when beach volleyball was just being voted in as an Olympic sport, because at that time I didn't think I would ever have a chance to play in the Olympics if I followed the beach volleyball route. And so the sport took me all over the world. There was years that Eric and I were traveling 100,000 miles a year to 5 different continents, and I just loved the sport, and it gave me so many opportunities. And I think sports on a whole, not just volleyball, are a way for people to have a positive impact, to possibly get their college paid for, and take it to another level. And that's why I wanted to get into broadcasting after, because I wanted to stay in sports. And working with the Clippers for the last 4 or 5 years and their sideline reporter has been awesome. Different, though, being on the other side, because I'll tell you what, there's nothing like competing on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'd rather make an impact that way. But with the motivational speaking, I had an older brother who had just as much opportunity as I did in terms of athletic ability, and came up a bit short with keeping his grades straight. And I saw that as a lesson. And by keeping my grades up, it opened up a ton of doors for me. So when I go around to schools and do the inspirational speaking, the motivational speaking, it's a real emphasis on, hey, even if you want to be the athlete, that window is going to close at some time, and you're going to have that education to fall back on.
Absolutely.
Even if you're rich, because if you look at all these people from the NBA and the NFL, if you look at the stats, 5 years down the road, 60% of these players are in financial stress or bankrupt, which is unheard of, because it's like they've hit the lottery in terms of some of these contracts, and then they lose it. So I really emphasize the educational side. You get the attention from the athletic side because they see the Olympics, they see the gold medal, they see I show them a video of me playing, and they get excited. But then once you get their ear, you got to really emphasize the importance of getting that education.
And everybody listening out there, again, DainBlanton.com. Why would you not want this man to come speak at your school? I mean, he's inspirational to us. It was inspirational to me as I was growing up and a young player, and going into coaching and everything like that. So, and just phenomenal. Now let's talk about, like I said, I'm an old school guy as far as beach volleyball. I grew up playing side out, where we could play for 5 hours, going into having to turn the headlights on, that kind of thing. The bigger court, and two guys who, no matter what your size, could play together. Whereas, you and Fenoy, both about 6'3", won a medal. Karch and Kent, 6'2" and 6'4", won a medal, that kind of thing. But now you have to have a tall guy and a defender. And now it seems like you can even have a 7'1" guy and a 6'9" guy, and they can be successful. But talk about the difference between the old school and the new school, which is actually, I believe, what forced you and Fenoy to break up as partners, right? You were looking for a big man?
Yes, we were. And, I like that you're a purist, because deep down I am a purist. I walk a neutral line, of course, when I'm doing broadcasting and whatnot, because sports change. The NBA implemented a three-point line, and things change over time. But the fact that they shrunk the court, the beach volleyball court, going from the year 2000 to the year 2001, it was 30 by 30 feet.
Yep.
And they shrunk it to 8 by 8 meters, which is about 24 feet.
Something like that,
do the math, in terms of you're losing 3 feet on each end line and 1.5 feet on each sideline, which is massive for, like you said, the guy who's 6'3", who's proficient at putting shots in certain areas.
Right.
Whereas the blocker, the tall guy, became 25-30% more effective just by default, because the amount of court behind him has shrunk. So it changed the game drastically. And not only that, the rally scoring made the game very difficult in terms of, like you said, you can't be down 10-0 and come back.
Right.
You can do it, but it's about a 1 in 100 shot that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas in old school, you might have come out of the gate hot, scored 10 points, the other team figured you out, and you not score again. Because I remember my first final in Fort Myers, Florida, with Canyon Seaman. We were playing Karch and Kent, and they were the best team ever.
Oh yeah,
it
I
was
watched
the finals. That. We were up 13-8 in the finals, and then they went on to side out 25-30 consecutive times and end up beating us 16-14.
Yeah, on an ace, right? It was a hubby wife ace.
I don't know. I put the whole game out of my mind.
I mean, never mind. I don't remember.
But the great thing about that, and the backstory behind that final, is the fact that every week, when Canyon and I were coming up, we wanted to play with the best guys that we could, and I believe that's true in any field that you choose. If you can expose yourself to the best, and we had a practice match set up every week with Karch and Kent at State Beach in Santa Monica. And finally, we made it to the finals in Fort Myers. I think it was 1996. And so the next Monday, Tuesday come around, I'm waiting for the phone call for practice, which never came. And then practice no longer existed with Karch and Kent after that, because, you don't want to be playing for all the marbles and practicing and giving up your secrets. But they were so instrumental in helping us get to that level, which was awesome.
And let's serve. Can we get rid of let's serve in the doubles game? It just doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't. It drives me nuts. Oh, come on. Indoors, I get it, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about 3 things. you get rid of the lead serve, you get rid of the rally score, and go back to point each time only if you're serving.
Siding out,
and then maybe compromise with the court size and maybe go halfway back to where we were. And that would open up the game for some of the smaller players. But you're right, the game has gotten so specialized. You have to have a big blocker. Well, you don't have to. I mean, there are teams that pull it off, but the majority are tall guy and short guy. And the reason I was attracted to beach volleyball was that you had to have every skill out there, and it wasn't specialized.
Exactly.
You didn't have your defensive specialist, and you're just your blocker and just your setter. So I tend to lean toward that versatility and being able to do everything, and that's how I try to coach and tell other people how to learn the game.
Yeah, because that really cuts the talent pool sort of in half. I mean, I'm barely 5'10", barely. So I used to be able to play with another small guy, but now I've got to play with a tall guy. So whoever my partner would have been before is either out or looking for somebody else. But yeah, go ahead, Colonel.
Dain, fitness is such a huge part of your life as well, and it's key for any volleyball player, indoor, but especially beach. What is your recommendations for people who are trying to find that intro, that first step into fitness, that want to change that life? I mean, it's the beginning of the year. People make their New Year's resolutions. What's the first big step they need to make to getting to that fit lifestyle?
I think the biggest thing is to consistently, you have to look at committing at least an hour a day to some sort of physical activity. I think that's first and foremost. Whether you're getting out and playing volleyball, you're playing basketball, you're going to the gym, I don't think an hour out of a 24-hour day to actually use the body that you've been given is too much to ask.
Right.
So committing that time, whether it's early before work, if it's in the afternoon, that's number one, is moving, burning the calories. Number two is obviously the diet. The diet is such a challenge these days because everything's quick and easy and not great for you in terms of food that is quick and easy. But making those choices to really navigate and keep your diet in line where you're not just eating a bunch of crap. And I always was pretty simple, a lot of fish, a lot of chicken. Every once in a while I have a steak, but all the snack foods are really what kill you. And steering away from all that and all the extra carbs and the desserts and the alcohol and the wine and all those things are. I'm not saying cut them all out. I'm saying everything in moderation.
Yeah.
And it's hard when everything surrounding us is more and bigger, and you almost feel like a fool ordering something because they always want to upsell you for the same price and make you feel stupid for not taking it when you really don't need it. So first and foremost, for sure, is that activity, getting out there and being active. And for me, I'm still working out probably a couple hours a day, and I love to compete and play. I play pickup basketball. I go down to the pier in Santa Monica playing volleyball with my friends here and there. But I'm burning. It's a lifestyle for me because I've done it forever. It is more challenging now because I don't have that weekend to train for and to try to beat out the competition. But you feel a lot better, and if you don't have the extra pounds and you stay mobile and active. So just getting out there, and I'm sure you guys are following that, right?
I am. Colonel's working on it over there.
I'm getting there.
Because I still play and work out all the time. But Now, so let's talk about the future. Then you said you actually still play every once in a while. A lot of guys who aren't full-time on the tour anymore, the NVL or the Cuervo Tour, or any of the ones that are out there now, the wide open, they'll still play some of the California stops. Stein Metzger still out there playing, and Stein's 40, I believe. So are you considering going back and actually playing in any tournaments, and or now that sand is growing in the collegiate ranks, would you look into coaching in college?
You know what, the whole college and coaching thing is a lot more attractive. I'm not a big indoor guy in terms of coaching indoor. I would love to coach beach, and I would love to coach elite athletes that want to go to the top. I would never be in a situation where, I was babysitting for camps and just for fun. I want the athlete that wants to go to that next level. And but playing, I don't have that on the agenda right now.
Get it together, Dain. Come on.
It all depends. So if I get out there and I'm practicing for a few weeks and I'm feeling good, I could jump in Manhattan Beach or Mosa Beach or
the six
Santa
man,
Monica.
the six man even.
No, I've never been a six-man guy. The last time I played in the six-man was 1997, if you can believe it. And because I got out of it every year because the Austria event in Austria, the FIVB event, was always the same weekend. And I don't know if you know too much about it, but that was the best event that I have ever played in on a worldwide level, just from a professional standpoint and the way they ran the week. And I played in that tournament 10 years straight. And that, if volleyball could be like Austria was every year in every stop, I mean, it would be a massive hit. But that's how I got out of the six-man every year.
Yeah, I actually have coached two athletes from Austria. So, yeah, they talk about that and show me pictures, and it looks amazing. It looks beautiful, and what a great life to travel the world and play beach volleyball. Of course, and of course, you won a national championship indoors at Pepperdine, which is in Malibu and overlooks the beach. It's it's not a rough school, and they won the only national championship so far in women's beach volleyball was won by Pepperdine last year. So
You know your stuff, that's for sure.
But again, DainBlanton.com, and if you want him to come speak, again, everything that he's been through, places that he's traveled, and the message that he brings with him, and just Dain, an incredible role model for people of all ages. So we appreciate that, especially in sports these days. I just had a debate with somebody the other day, with the whole Lance Armstrong thing going on, about should we look up to athletes? Should this be someone that we tell our kids, hey, this should be a role model? And this guy was saying, no, athletes are just, they can hit a ball hard or something like that. And I said, it depends on how they live their lives and how they carry themselves. And just really, really, I guess, just appreciative of the job that you do of being a role model, which is rare in athletes these days. So we appreciate that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and it's tough, for athletes, because I truly believe what you said. Just by an athlete by default is not a role model. You kind of have to pick and choose and tell your kids to follow this or that, but they're just humans as we all are, and the Lance thing is pretty frightening, I guess. He looks pretty cold-blooded to me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. One last question then. This just hit me. We normally ask when we have bands on the show, which is traditionally music, we ask them what's the last song they would want to hear if they only had time to do that one more time in their life, to hear one more song. So I'm going to ask you, Dain, if you could only play one more match, beach volleyball will say, who would your partner be, and who would your opponents be? Yeah.
You know what? It would be Eric Noimwana would be my partner.
Okay. So we're talking old school rules then, for sure.
Old school rules, and I'd probably play against Karch Karayan and Ken Steffes, or St. John Smith and Randy Stoklos, who we never got an opportunity to play against. But
hey, they're all still around.
Yeah, they are, and it wouldn't be quite the same. It'd be like Pacquiao Mayweather in 10 years. But
is Pacquiao awake yet? I don't know.
What's that?
I said, is Pacquiao awake yet? I don't know. He might still be sleeping through that.
He might. That was pretty devastating.
Yeah, it was,
But the great thing about those guys, I grew up spending the night at the beach to get good seats to watch St. John and Randy, and good friends with both of them now. And then Karch Karayan and Ken Steffes, I played in the '97 World Championships and took a third and with Ken Steffes. And Karch was a guy I always wanted to play against because a class act, such a hard worker, and I thought that he always brought out the best in me when he was on the other side of the court, and that's what you want to compete against, is the best. And that was the dream about winning the 2000 Olympics. We played the best team in the world at the time in Brazil.
Beat the Brazilians.
So no one could dispute, even though it was an upset, it was much sweeter taking out the number one team in the world than someone who might have upset them and played a different team in the final.
USA. And in this match, are you split blocking, or are you defender blocker?
Split blocking for sure, and just doing it all. That's when it's most fun, and just whipping up aces, having that big court, and that normal side out scoring, and and just battling.
You know, that was one thing that I always found, it just looked different. Your serve, and I always tried to duplicate it, but I can't do it. Instead of opening up a lot, you almost keep your shoulders square, and it was more arm swing with you, it seemed like. And I think you only had a two-step jump spin. It was pretty short and quick. Your toss was low, but effective.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of the hardest ever in the history of the sport. How did you do that?
You know, it's a big comfort level. You want to be technically sound, but I think I always started. I threw the ball up with one hand, with my right hand, led with the right foot. It was kind of a three-step kind of approach, and I probably could have used more core and strength. But back then, you know, it was the whole core strength era has been since then.
Yeah.
And so who knows how much stronger that serve could have been. But fortunately, I never had any shoulder problems, and I think there probably were some technical intricacies and flaws in it, but maybe that kind of mesmerized the opponent.
Yeah, I'm not saying there were flaws. It was clearly effective. It was just it was interesting.
Right.
So, and like I said, hard to duplicate. But
a little unorthodox. Maybe.
It was unorthodox. There you go.
Unorthodox.
There you go. Yeah, but it works, man. So again, DainBlanton.com. Go check it out, and please hire this man to come speak to your school, or whether you're in college or high school or elementary school. Just an extraordinary athlete with extraordinary accomplishments and such a good role model. We appreciate it. We'll be back here in a few minutes on Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on hawkradio.org
and acrosstheboardradio.com.